Media watcher Rich Greenfield is expecting a new pricing model for Disney parks. Joining us right now with his call is Rich Greenfield himself, LightShed Partners partner and co-founder. Rich, tell us about this. What do you think the new pricing is going to be and why?
Well, first of all, Becky, in Paris, they actually rolled out a real big change, and they've used Paris, Disneyland Paris. They've used this sort of as a testing ground for pricing. Like even the new Fast Pass system in the U.S. started over in Paris. And what they've been doing in Paris is a true dynamic model. So sort of think like the airline, where there is no actual price of a ticket to get in the park. You log on, you click buy a ticket, and for the next 60 minutes, your price is locked, whether you're buying it for tomorrow or 6 months out. You come back in an hour, that price could be different. It's all based on supply and demand. It gives Disney, obviously, a lot of flexibility in terms of how they price. And for the consumer, you don't see the price increases the same way. You know, Disney's on this annual cycle where we all talk about, oh, the price of the parks is going up by blank. This would allow you a lot more flexibility to play with pricing. Now, in the U.S., we've gotten a little bit more information. It doesn't sound like they're going to do sort of a constant change of price all day long. It might be once or twice a day or a few times a day. The price for the rest of the year will reset. But it does sound like they're standardizing their systems in the U.S. over the course of the next few months, and they're thinking about doing this sometime this year. I don't know exactly the exact timing, but it does sound like Disney is prepping their back-end systems so that they can move to this more of a dynamic system than they've ever had before at the U.S. parks.
Look, I can think of some reasons that dynamic pricing would be good. Maybe on a really busy week, like in April when everybody's on spring break, you have more expensive tickets so that you limit the number of people who are in the parks. But my guess is they're not looking at this because they're trying to make it better for the guests who are in the parks. My guess is they're trying to figure out how much money they can wring out of you. And maybe they've hit a limit on how high you can run. I mean, all of these things, like the park tickets have gone up again and again and again and again. The lines in the parks have gotten longer and longer, and that stupid new pass system they have stinks. I mean, it feels like there's a breaking point.
I'm going to stop you. Yeah, I'm going to stop you,
I
Becky,
say this as a Disney Vacation Club member who's been there a bunch of times.
No, and I will say I think the Genie system actually was bad. I think one of the big things they've done over... No, I understand. Genie's gone, though. Like, that whole system is gone. There is now a new Fast Pass system that was modeled on France. And what I think is interesting is there was a lot of cheating on the disability passes. So you had a tremendous amount of people sort of abusing the disability system.
So cut down on the cheating. Fix the problems with that. But by the way, it shouldn't be impossible to get one of those if you actually have a child with disabilities or if you have somebody who's going through with those things. You know, fix your systems. Don't have crappy systems.
I think they've done a lot over the course of the last 6 months to sort of clean up the abuse of those lightning lanes. It is now a much better process. My sister was actually just down there last week and was talking about how good and how easy getting through and that was a pretty busy holiday week, that it was a far better experience than it's been in the past. So I do think they're making progress.
Maybe they are. I haven't been there in 6 months because I've gotten so frustrated with them I don't go back.
But Becky, back to your overall proposition. I think they're doing this because they see the opportunity, just like you've seen. I mean, Live Nation's been doing more in terms of trying to leverage dynamic pricing to benefit. Look, there is clearly a desire for the consumer for experiences. We are in the heart of the experience economy. We are seeing it. People want to go to Disney. There is no doubt that they are looking at that and seeing how, for both tickets and hotels, how can they optimize pricing? And I think moving to, they remember, wasn't that many years ago, I mean, 2 decades ago, the price of a Disney ticket was the same the entire year. It didn't matter what day you went on. Right. Now they actually have different prices every day of the year. Now we're talking about moving to that price will change every day or multiple times a day.
My streaming update, the wonderful business of streaming, blockbuster business. In the Wall Street Journal, it's a headline. Turns out that bundle that Walt Disney has with Warner Brothers Discovery, that Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max, 3 months later, not everyone was gone. That's what it says here, that they've had success keeping users. You know what that translates to? 80% are still there 3 months later. You know what your beloved Netflix is? 72%. This is a huge win that only 20% cut the cord, whatever you want to call it, in the first 3 months. This business stinks.
Joe?
Yes?
There is, I guess the bottom line is, Joe, you can't take the bundling out of the bundlers. This is what media companies know. They know how to bundle things together to lower
80%,
churn.
that's a big win. I mean, that might have been my GPA, but 80% is a big win.
Look, it ties into exactly why we think David Zaslav and the team at WBD should actually rebrand Max, go back to HBO, because I think when you're selling a package with Disney and Hulu, Max doesn't mean anything. I think Disney plus HBO really resonates with the consumer. And I think even when they're marketing it, they talk more about HBO. White Lotus is HBO. Last of Us is HBO.
So you're saying this is really, you're taking the opposite. You're saying 80% is really good 3 months later. You're saying that that's as good as it's going to get.
Look, these companies, meaning all of the legacy, I don't care whether we're talking Disney, Paramount, WBD, they all do not have enough content. Like, you can't name a show on Disney Plus in months. You can't name many shows. Like, White Lotus is out now, but name the last show you were watching on HBO. They don't have enough content. The only way you can sort of play this game is to bundle together, because they literally are not spending enough on program.
But, Rich, that's the question. You're saying they're not spending enough on the programming, and that's why they're not getting the quality? Is that the issue?
No, that's why they don't have the engagement. People do not. I mean, think about how much time the average household is spending 2 to 2.5 hours a day. 2.5 hours a day on Netflix.
Looking for something.
They are spending a small. No, Joe, go watch Black Dogs. Go watch Night Agent season 2.
No, American Pie. No, I didn't like.